Hi, I'm Danny and these are my Diecast Disasters. Now in these strange times it seems like a lot of channels are restoring Matchbox Beetles, and that's why in this video I'm going to be restoring a Matchbox Beetle. But I'm going to be throwing you a bit of a curveball. Rather than restoring a 1960s 1200 Beetle, I'm going to be restoring a 1968 1500 Saloon. And not only will I be tidying it up, but I'll be customizing it into the movie car Herbie. So we're just taking a look at our little Beetle off of the turntable. It's all there, nothing's broken on it. Just a pretty chipped paint job and looking fairly scruffy. You can see it's got the transitional wheels on it there, all sort of thin ones, but not quite super fast. Let's crack on and take it apart. There's only one post holding it together. I'll drill that out. And it's got a tab at the front. There we go. You can see the super fast style suspension in there. There's the interior and the windscreen. Nice to see that's not broken. So there's our car body ready for paint stripping. I'll paint some paint stripper over it. And here you can see it bubbling all that paint up. And then I could just rinse it all off with some water. This is how it came out. See, most of the paint's gone off of that. There's a few scraps left on there and it's got a bit of oxidation, so I'll give it a clean up with the wire brush on my rotary tool. So Herbie was a little magic sort of beetle, had a sort of a mind of its own, and he first featured in the movie The Love Bug in 1968, and then they went on to make another 5 movies. And here's our little beetle body after burnishing. It's looking a lot cleaner and shinier. So one of the glaring sort of issues with these Matchbox Beetle castings is they've got these big casting lines over the front bonnet and wheel wells and over the back wheel wells there. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time with my needle file and take those down. There we go, that's got the bulk of them off. Now I'll move to a bit of 800 grit sandpaper. And here it is after sanding. I think that's looking a lot better than it did when I started. And so I'll repeat that process to get rid of the rear casting lines. There we go, it's looking pretty good now. So before I paint it, I'll drill and tap this little post here. And there we go, now I can put it back together with a little screw later on. So now on with painting. First of all, I start with a light coat of grey primer. And then I give it a couple of coats of white. I think the original Herbie was more of a cream colour and then it had white numbers on it. But I'm going to be making my own decals for this car and I can't print white. I'd have to print on some white decal paper and there's no way I can cut out a perfectly round circle. So I'm just going with an all white Herbie. So I've gone into Photoshop here. I'm going to make myself some decals. There's the number 53 in a circle there, And then there's some red and blue stripes. So once I have the basic designs done, I take some measurements off of my car and then I resize the elements. And then I print them out on some standard A4 paper and I'll cut them out and size them up on the car to make sure that they fit properly. And after a couple of resizing sessions, this was my final layout for my decal sheet. And here it was after I printed it out on my printer. I've printed this on clear decal paper. These were finished with some decal bonder spray, and then after they'd fully dried, I can apply them to my little Beetle. And then these were left to dry fully. I printed out some little Herbie license plates and I've cut one out and I used some PVA glue to stick it onto the back there. Then this was all finished with a couple of coats of nice gloss varnish. So I'll move on to the base now. First thing I'll do is pop out these old wheels. Next I give it a good burnishing with my rotary tool, clean off all that gunk and oxidation that's on there after all those years. And here's how that came out looking. I'm not going to do anything else to it, I'm just going to leave it as the burnished metal finish. So it's got the original license plate surface relief on the front there. I don't want that because I put the Herbie license plate on the back, so I'll just take that off with my needle file and a bit of sandpaper. Onto the interior now. The first step with this will be to cut off this tow bar here, as I don't really want that. Next I give it a bit of a custom paint job, so I'll start out with some grey primer. Then I hit it with some white, mainly on the seats there. and then finish it with a little bit of detailing. Just a black floor there, and I've done the steering wheel and I've painted the rear there in silver. So here's the old transitional wheels that it came with. I'm going to be replacing these with some cool aftermarket ones. These ones have the unpainted rims, so I'll just pop the tyres off them, and then I'll give them a quick paint job. I start out with some black primer, and then I painted them all in metal colour silver. And here they are with the tyres back on, looking pretty cool. But just to finish them off and make them suit the Beetle a bit more, I've got these round hubcaps. Onto the windscreen. It's in pretty good nick. There's a few scuffs on it. No cracks or anything though, so that's good. I give it a good polishing with some plastic polish. And this was how it came out. Looking nice and shiny now, ready to go back in the car. So that's all of the work done pretty much. And here are all the parts of our little Beetle, Herbie, all refurbished, repainted and ready to go back together. Unfortunately, when I did put it back together, those wheels were just a little bit too wide and they were pushing up against the inside of the wheel wells. So I took it apart again and I'm using a straight burr on my rotary tool to grind out these wheel wells on the base here a little bit. I had to cut out the plastic suspension as well. And then once I'd taken 1.5 millimeters or so off of each side, I glue in some new axle casings made out of aluminium tube. And then when it went back together the second time, the wheels fitted well. So just before we take a look at our finished Herbie Matchbox Beetle, let's take a moment to look back and be reminded of what we started with. Here it is, our scruffy, play-worn little Matchbox 1500 Volkswagen Saloon. Let's give it a 60s style movie makeover. And here it is, our finished custom Herbie, the Love Bug, made out of a Matchbox 1500 Volkswagen Saloon from 1968. We've got rid of that odd sort of candy red, and it's been repainted white and had the cool Herbie livery added to it. It's been detailed inside and out, including that custom Herbie license plate. Windows have been given a polish and a shine, and it's got a nice new set of aftermarket wheels. I'm really happy with how this has come out. I think the decals printed really well. I mean, they're never going to be totally perfect with a home printer, but they look pretty tidy to me. And it was definitely a fun little project to do. I know a lot of people have grown up with Herbie. It's been quite a few people have asked me to do the custom over the time I've had the channel, so it's cool to actually finally get around to it. You can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you got memories of the movies when you were a kid? Thanks heaps to everyone for watching my videos and commenting and giving them a thumbs up. Extra special thanks to my awesome Patreon supporters who help to support the channel through Patreon. If you'd like to help out as well, you can check out my Patreon page. There's a link in the description below. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you'd like to see similar stuff, remember to subscribe and click the bell. Give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.